another episode of
Mum
and Son. If you guys don't already know, I'm Jay, I'm the son.
and I'm Alicia and I'm the mom.
So today,
welcome.
we are welcome. If you're new as well, welcome. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming along, being a part of the family. So today is going to be an interesting topic.
Yeah.
It's going to be one where inevitability will bring it into life, and that is something we call
change.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about change and how to cope with change, how to, kind of embrace change, or, if it's something that you're not finding it easy to transition or change, ways of how best to cope with it and manage it to the best of your ability. What do you reckon?
That's exactly it. This episode we're going to go over all the things that Alicia said, and I guess the best place to start with this, and even the reason why we brought it up, was because some external things that we're seeing going on where with people where their circumstances are changing, but even within ourselves as we're growing, like me within my own life as I'm growing as well and developing, there's certain phases of my life that are also changing too. So that's always a progressive thing to some extent.
I mean, when you think about it, life is never stationary.
That's
change
true.
is always ongoing.
That's
it's always your journey as part of your life's journey. Change is consistently happening, even aging, everything,
like, just that natural
change.
That
natural progression.
Even in nature we see things, we even see the seasons change. Everything has its time.
True.
Isn't it? Everything has its time,
everything has its time,
has its start, has its end.
That's perfect. It's so true. And you have to see change as ongoing, and I feel, for me anyway, one of the best ways to cope with change is to come from an understanding that it is inevitable. And once you can perceive change as inevitable, it doesn't matter across what board it is. If you understand that it is inevitable, and it isn't always a bad thing,
that's true.
To perceive it as inevitable and something that you can embrace in various forms of acceptance, then you're going to find you become adaptable. That's what I think is the key to overcoming change. Becoming adaptable. When you're too rigid in the way you think, in the way you view things, or the way you do things, that's when change becomes very, very hard to cope with. But if you're flexible, and if you are ready to be adapting and to be willing to change your situational circumstances around change, then you find that change can be a great thing. It can be an enjoyable thing. It can be, you can say, well, I didn't really like this in the beginning, but now that I've accepted it, I've come to grow and understand that this may be the right thing, that this may be the best thing that is happening in my interest or in the interest of others. And you can say, you know what, I'm going to go with the flow. I'm going to accept it to the best of my ability and make the most of it. I think those are the little things that help you cope with change. What do you reckon?
I totally agree. Those are the first steps towards learning to cope with the change that's happening in your life. When I think about what you said there, and when you talked about two things you said, one was adapt, which even when we look through evolution, these species and
that's right, the ones that could adapt survived.
Are the ones that survived. So,
and the ones that couldn't died out. It's a good analogy.
And,
I like that.
So that is true. Like when we adapt to change, we almost give ourselves a better chance of surviving
and getting through it,
whatever's happening, and getting through it. Rather than feeling like hopeless, all is lost, whether that's giving up, whether that's giving in, or whatever. Because when you adapt, you almost give yourself a better chance to survive.
Correct.
And then the other part that you said that was really great was the acceptance.
Yeah.
Because when you accept something,
You stop resisting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no resistance because a part of you has to let go. And I think change is hard sometimes because we
don't want to let go. We
want the control.
Yeah.
We want the control. Once it's coming out of our hands and everything, we say, whoa, I want it to go this way, or why is this happening? I don't want it to, bring it back. Or if something's going to happen, I want it to happen like this, and we're trying to control it in some type of way. When it's happening and we can't control it, we're not accepting it, we're resisting it.
Yeah.
And
that's when obstacles appear.
True.
Things become harder.
And as you said, even an opportunity in that sense could be then turned into an obstacle.
Exactly. Because you're not accepting.
Yeah.
You're
not going with the flow.
You're not going with the flow.
The transition that's happening in some type of way.
You're resisting it, and therefore you're closing off the good things that are coming to you, the opportunities, the things that are coming to you to support you during that change. You are locking them down. You're closing them off, and so whatever it is, you are going to find it harder and harder and harder to cope with. And the more resistance, we talked about this a few episodes ago, the more resistance you have, the more life is just becoming harder and harder.
It's true. And it's like the more you make it, even if you think, oh, but my life is hard anyway, so what's the difference? You really make it hard. When there's resistance, because in some respects we want to go, oh, but we'd rather have things work in our favour than to our liking. But when things can't, as you said, when you kind of adapt to it, accept it, and it's almost like you allow the transition to sort of happen, you'll figure it out in a much better way. But sometimes you may even recognise that this isn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't mean that anything's over or ended and you don't lose out or miss out in any way. Sometimes it's a bit of growth. Sometimes it's a thrust forward in some type of way.
Yeah. I mean, if you accept that change is inevitable, then the next thing is what is change teaching me? What am I learning from this experience? How am I growing from this experience? Whether you like it or not, you have to say, well, this is part of my journey and my learning process.
Yeah.
How am I going to cope with it? And that's, I think, the key to transitioning from one sort of change into another. Let's face it, we don't like change. If we would prefer to be safe and secure in our little corner.
Definitely, yeah.
And thinking, I don't want things to change, I love things the way they are, everything's like this, like that, I love it as it is. But that's just not possible, because if that was the way, basically you're trying to stop time. Because as time continues to go forward, you're evolving, you're changing.
Yeah.
We look at how we were 10 years ago and we say, oh my gosh, and look at where I am now. You may look back on it and say, gosh, I didn't realise I looked like that or whatever. And and kids are a great one, because you can meet someone who's just had a kid and then meet them 10 years later and you see that this kid is not
sure, yeah,
you think, oh my god, is that
it's
how
like
much
a physical
they've changed and how much time has passed. They're always a good gauge to look at how time and change has taken place. So no matter what, it's something we do have to accept. It's something we do have to embrace. And whether we like it or not, it's going to happen.
So I totally agree. And what I'll add there, because there might be some people who are going through a certain type of change that may be something, I guess, more with a down-toned or thing attached to it. Whether that's, maybe a relationship that's ended, or, maybe something else where someone has kind of like gone and they may never see them again in some type of way. Or maybe someone's just lost a job and they never saw it coming and they're facing that.
Yeah.
So in those moments or those times or through that experience of going through that,
how do you get through it?
Yeah, what's the perspective on that and sort of looking at it to get through in some type of way?
I feel that, with every door closing or every situation that is ending, there is a new beginning starting in some way, shape or form. You may not perceive it as that because it may be at a moment in your life where you can't see that yet, and you can't even think about something changing to the point of renewal or regeneration. But if you look to Mother Nature, for example, I don't know, obviously everyone lives in different parts of the world, but say for instance, here in the UK, as autumn starts to come into being just before winter, it's like all of a sudden you see all the leaves dying, and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, it looks like the end. And then, there's the bleak winter, and it just looks like everything, there's nothing going to come out of this.
Yeah.
This situation looks so dire that it's almost as if I cannot see or perceive anything different from where I'm standing right now.
Yeah.
But you have to trust that, at the end of every cycle, there is something new.
Yeah.
Growing or beginning, or you yourself. If it's someone else, like say loss or something, and you think, well, that is past, I won't see them again. How are you evolving from that situation? Is it that you will now take a new path? You will now become a new type of person based on what you've experienced?
Yeah.
Are you evolving out of the process? And I feel it's like when all of a sudden spring comes, and then you see a new dawning with spring coming, and then all of a sudden all the leaves that fell are suddenly budding again, and a new bloom. So it's a cycle. It's this continuous cycle.
And I think it's good you said that, because I remember an interview with a movie star, and they were talking about life in this type of way, and the quote that they said was, most of us, we look at experiences within our life as this linear sort of line. We start, there's a middle, and then there's an end, and then that's that. But he goes, when you think about it, it's actually and just as you said, it's like a circle, it's like a cycle. So when you see it like that, whether it's a job that's let you go and you never saw it coming, this and that, it's like a circle of it's let you go, but there's going to be a new one,
new path.
And it's going to have or if
Yeah.
it's a relationship of sorts, that this cycle or circle has ended, but there's going to be a new one that will
exactly.
Because as you said, as even the Lion King says famously, the song, the circle of life.
There we go.
That's what he was talking about. So
circle of life.
not only is life
that.
a circle,
Yeah.
a massive cycle in general, but the experiences we face in certain areas also come in cycles.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. And that is, it's very akin to nature, because even the stars, they're born, and then they have their time, and then they pass, and then they die out and explode, but there's always something reborn.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of an exploding or dying star, there's a rebirth of new. So I think, all in all, you if you are facing change, even if it's negative change, you have to hold out that sense of hope that something is on the horizon that is inviting change, and no matter how big or small, to kind of go with the flow is the easiest path. when you become resistant, when you stamp your foot down, when you say, this is not going to happen under my watch, I'm not allowing this change to take place.
It's like going upstream, instead of going with
you're,
water.
You're heading on to a battle. You're basically putting a battle. You know, it's like even the older generation, they see the new generation coming and they say, oh, you know, in our day, you know, we didn't do this, we didn't do that. And, you know, they start to resist. I remember even like, I don't know if you remember, like, for example, do you remember when rap started first coming in?
Yeah.
And there was so many people against it because it was fear of, oh, what is this going to do? You know, what is this new form of music and expression going to do? And, you know, it was serious. Like they had things in the news trying to stop rap and how it was evolving, and they didn't want, you know, but eventually we had to surrender, and you know, it's taken its natural progression, and now everybody loves it, you know, and it's become a real part of culture, and you know, overall. Even TV ads, it's everywhere now. But there was resistance initially.
But that goes back to it again, whether we look at it in a society way or within ourselves, we try to sometimes resist a change that we're unfamiliar with or that's foreign to us.
And that again is fear. You know, when it's fear of the unknown or fear of, you know, where is this going to take us? Where is this going to lead us? But it is inevitable.
And that's the truth.
What, you know,
that is the truth. Whether it's in Mother Nature or human nature.
That's it. I love that. It's Mother Nature or human nature.
It's all.
It's happening.
It's happening. And as you said, it's inevitable that it's going to.
It's going to happen.
It's just probably nature, I'd say, doesn't try to control it.
Never.
Whereas for us,
we try.
We try, and that's why we probably
and we get fearful,
and that's
you know,
why
because we start to resist because we're thinking, no, we don't want, you know, hey, you know, when things things are like, I mean, it's happened all, you know, even when, for example, computers were coming in, and you know, people saying, hey, we're going to lose our jobs if things are robotized and whatever, it's going to be the downfall of humanity, and you know, it's all fear. That's, you know, that there's that aspect to it, the fearful side of it. But like all things with fear, you know, it's not really reality. It's what you perceive is going to happen or become, but it's not actually reality. It's just so you don't have to buy into it.
Projecting it's going to happen. And stuff like that.
So with change and the fear of it, and the resistance of it, it's just, as they say about fear, false evidence appearing real. It's not real yet, but your mind is perceiving it doom and gloom from that perspective, and the fear is the thing that will try and stop change happening. But it can never be stopped. You know, I think they call it entropy. Time always moving forward.
Wow.
Something like that.
Exactly. But that's exactly it. And maybe that's why you see animals or even pets aren't stressed or frustrated or anything, because they have no concept of trying to control time or trying to avoid it, you know.
Change,
they're just...
The seasons come, they do what they have to do.
Yeah.
The seasons come and go, and they go with the flow. Yeah, you know, like birds migrate.
Exactly.
You know, in some of these things, the animals take journeys, don't they?
True.
From one place to another during a particular season.
Time,
Even in the sea, the whales and things
also do
migrate as well, long journeys to have their baby. You know, it is just part of life, and you know, the acceptance of it means that you can go with the flow. You're more free and open to ideas. You know, by understanding that change is inevitable, and it's a good thing. Change is a good thing.
I think in some way it's acknowledging that it's inevitable should liberate you. To some respect.
Obviously there may be changes which are very negative.
Well, that's it.
You know, there could be like, you know, for example, a country has had a really great leader, and then a new leader comes in, and you know they're not the same, and things are turned on his head. Good or bad, it's inevitable. It's how you get through it.
It's how. That's exactly it.
How you find your
change
way.
Is going to, you know,
it's going to happen
or appear in everyone's life. Whether it's on a mass sort of level within a society or within a country, or whether it's personal,
global,
in our personal lives, or even globally, or in our personal lives. So, as you said, when you accept that, and even if you don't agree with it initially or anything, I think once you can just be open to accepting it and understanding that it's not personal. Because sometimes we could be like that and be like, oh, this isn't, how come I'm going for this but someone else isn't, or oh, this is the worst for me, and you know, or we can make up.
I again, like, because I read in some book, for example, you know, if change takes place which you're not happy with and you don't agree with, you know, you have to be pro whatever you want. Instead of trying to you know, fight negative with negative, you just focus on what you want to invite change to take place, which is more in your favor, and I think, than against you.
And I totally agree, and I think a part of that is also allowing it to happen in its own natural time. Because you can go, oh yeah, but I know what I want, but I want it now, or I want it like this. But there's also that part of, you have to sort of let it figure itself out and come to that place, or maybe whatever you want.
I mean, and the reason I believe that, I'll tell you why, is because if you look at a lot of ancient civilizations, you know, they've all had their time. And they've gone, you know, like rulers. Even just say like the Roman Empire, that it looked indestructible. You know, Rome now is a completely different. There will always be the rise and fall of things, you know, of things that have happened in our history. And you can see that those things come and eventually go. Given the natural, you know, form of time, allowing time to go forward, you know, certain things that have happened in history, you can see that you don't view things like that anymore. Change has taken place. And you know, remember like before, like people used to go to India and shoot tigers and things like that. Now we're all about conservation and saving animals and things like that. So that you know, those mindsets that were with one generation or existed, and I'm just talking about the negative things now, because
no, of course,
we thought we'd touch on that. But negative things that you oppose, you know, remember the fur trade.
Exactly. How
people wanted to wear furs and things, and now it's just not done. They've brought in, you know, synthetic stuff to take like its place. And you don't have to harm animals in any way. So those negative things, people may not have agreed with it at the time, and they may not have been able to do anything about it at the time, but they started to be pro what they wanted, you know. You know, say the animal rights people started to be pro animal rights when they couldn't do anything about the negative things happening. And eventually, over time, you started to win. You start to make things turn and come positive in the end.
And I think even just
no negative thing lasts forever.
No, and I think even looking at it in that example, looking at, let's say with maybe we're talking about animals, but sort of just like, you know, whether it's tigers or rhinos or elephants and stuff, we could look and say, well, they were more or less naturally free or going on. Now some are being poached, so there's a change happening there, negative one. But as you said, now beyond that, I'm sure a few people and certain people would have felt a certain way, but now that's happening. It's almost like that negative change has spurred on a positive change, which is now there's sort of things that are creating awareness, trying to stop things from happening.
Yeah.
So that's just the analogy of the animals and everything. But any negative, what I'm trying to take from that is any negative experience that happens, even if your life was good, everything was going well, and then it went negative, there should try and be a positive awareness or
and
action taken
focus
from that.
Yes,
And
focus on
that's
the
even-
positive action,
Yeah,
and that will always be
from
able to turn
the negative, even if
the
something
negative.
negative has come into your life, like
Yeah.
a negative change.
Yeah.
Focus on or try to transition yourself to the positive you want out of this to happen.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I mean, you know, sorry to go on about animals. I don't even know why it's coming
I
up
don't
so
know.
much, but you know,
I don't
it's
know,
just about
but
change.
but but that's the thing.
Yeah.
We talked a bit about nature and
Yeah.
nature, so
For
linking the
example,
two together, isn't it?
just before we go, for example, there was this thing about those gorillas, wasn't it, where they were being poached. The
Yeah.
local people were involved in poaching them and so on and so forth, and they were basically almost becoming extinct.
Yeah.
But then they started to sort of change the mindset of the local people because they invited, you know, tourism,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they became it sort of started to have value in visiting these animals.
Yeah,
you know, like the gorillas and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And so a whole new industry started to emerge out of this very negative situation, an industry that involved the local people, and they started working and, you know, being guides for people that wanted to see the gorillas in their own natural habitat, and they started being guides, and then a whole new positive aspect evolved around a very negative situation, and the change now is a positive one where you know, the poaching of those animals in specific countries has been literally sort of died off because they've turned the, I don't know, like the negative part of it into something positive. People coming, you know, it's like those people that go and see whales in the sea. We used to kill them, and now people are coming to see them, and there's a whole positive industry around that. So I mean, oh my God, it's been a strange one today, going from all these different things about change, but you know, nature, animals, whatever, but you understand that it's going on around change.
Yeah,
and even for us as well.
That's exactly the same thing. So I think, you know, whether it's something going on in, whether it's something you want
your personal
life, and it's something that you want to reach, and a change is happening and you're not comfortable, it's like, I want to reach this or do something, but it's not coming in the way I like. You just have to sort of be accepting to it and stop resisting it. If it's a negative change that's happening, you have to obviously accept it as well at some time. I'm not saying you have to agree with it, but you have to accept it at some time because it's going to be inevitable for everything.
And then focus on the
focus on the
positive
focus on
things,
the things that will turn it into whatever step or phase in the next part of your life that this is going to happen or is going is going to be positive in some way.
And it will turn positive. You know, I know you may be sitting there thinking it's very easy for them to say, you know, right now to me things look, you know, I don't even see where there'll be anything positive coming out of this situation. You know, how can that be? But trust me that in, you know, just as if you look to other things going on around you, you can see that change, if it's bad change, it can be turned into a good one. If it's, you know, even if it's a change within yourself, within, you know, your circumstances, within whatever it is you're going through right now, you see it as this is temporary. That's another thing.
That's true.
Just before we go, like to see change is always temporary. It's never going to last forever. You know, nothing is going to last forever in this physical, you know, world. So if it's a physical thing and you're thinking, gosh, you know, is there any end in sight? Trust me, it's temporary, and good things lie ahead, and positive things lie ahead.
It's definitely
just stick with it.
Definitely true. And You know, adding on to that, I'd say even, you know, after the darkest night is the brightest day.
That's beautiful. And
So,
every night, thankfully, we wake up the next day and the sun, you know, greets
and
us.
if we use that as an analogy,
of
everything is
cycles
even if the
and change.
well, that's it, exactly. It's a cycle, and even
dark,
if
and you
even
think,
if the
oh
negative,
my God, is it going to stay like this?
Yeah.
For now, we have the sun.
Even if the negative change is happening, like, because we usually see things, don't we, as in like kind of like darkness is like that negative thing.
Yeah.
But even if something like that is happening, you have to understand that even, you know, the darkest night doesn't last forever.
Yeah, it's
naturally.
temporary.
And
it's
even
temporary.
you know, so even the sun will come out the brightest thing. So that's it. Just see it as maybe
evolution, I guess, evolving,
evolution,
changing,
and just as
part of it.
It may last longer than a night, but even if it's just one of your darkest nights or darkest hours, after the darkness, there has to be the light, and the darker is, the brighter, you know, the sun will have to rise. So as an analogy, it's saying...
Yeah, and like I always say to you sometimes, it's like, you know, everything can change the following day. You know?
Yeah.
Each new day brings new opportunity.
It's true.
Each new day brings something different and positive that you can, you know, the day before, it may have appeared to be doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But the next day, something amazing or different can happen. You can bump into someone, you can meet someone, you can, you know, read something, you can hear something. It's that wide open.
Yeah, I think so. And what I'd say is, because you just saying that, it's reminding me of something that I was going to say, which was, you know, when change is happening, that instead of us working on trying to change what's happening outside, you should also be working on yourself.
That's a very
to
good
cope
one.
with it. You know,
Yeah.
You work on yourself.
Yeah, that's
because
key.
when you work on yourself, it's almost like organically, the byproduct of that is going to be landing yourself or the situation outside of you being what you sort of want or prefer. Because working on yourself, your perspective may change, your temperament or your view or your state of being or how you feel, and everything will, because that's how you cope with it. Because some people may stick there and wait and say, I'll wait for it to pass one day, but don't try and work on changing that, waiting for that. To cope with it better, work on yourself, and it will.
I agree 100%. And just before we go, it reminds me of when you are in a situation where, you know, somebody you're with, or, you know, maybe a partner, maybe you know, you finding that this person is not changing, you know, like, you know, you feel frustrated that, you know, you may have changed and grown over time, but they're still stuck in their ways. You're living with them, or, you know, they're a partner, you've been trying to talk to them, get them to listen to sense, or, you know, a relative that you're trying to, you know, get them to understand something which they just won't. At the end of it all, just what you were saying, the only thing in your hands is yourself, ultimately. So with change like that, you can't do anything about another person. That is in their hands. All you can do is work on yourself, and work on yourself to allow a process to take place where you can stop blaming them, you can stop pointing the finger at them, you letting it go. You know, I'm done because I've done my best. But the only thing I can do is focus on myself. If they kind of fix up and join you, then great. But ultimately, you have to focus on working on yourself. So I like
exactly.
that bit you said. That.
No, it's true. And I guess, like, because we're kind of wrapping up now and stuff, that also links in with, you know, I always drop quotes by other people and stuff, just because you're listening to us and our quotes, but if there's, you know, certain people we may mention as well that you may go on and it can help you progress in certain ways.
Sure,
we've all had
sure.
different people we've read and learned from and everything, but it reminds me of that famous quote that Wayne Dyer said, which was, when you change the way you look at things,
the things you look
the
at
things you look at
change.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect
that is
quote, isn't
that's
it?
when we talk about working on yourself and not trying to change.
That's what he meant.
That encapsulates that very well.
Yeah, and literally, it is like you can have an immediate change in attitude and change. If you change the way you're looking at the situation, suddenly you might feel better. Suddenly you might feel, wow, I didn't see it in that light. You know, like I didn't see it that way, but now I do. I feel so much better.
Yeah.
You know, somebody can sometimes say something and you said, yeah, you know what, they got a point. I never saw it in that way. And then the minute you do, you feel a lot better. So hopefully everyone's enjoyed this episode on change. We went all over the place.
It touched on many points. And
I never thought we'd go all the
and that. So, but that's what this is all about. This isn't planned or prepped. It's more just just thinking about the topic and then just talking about
from
it freely.
The heart. Freely
in this moment. Exactly. And
so
that's the thing. Everything is a process and change is inevitable. But, you know, as long as you try and change for the better, no matter what, that's the main aim.
Always focus on the positives as well. And you'll get through it.
Exactly that. So if you enjoyed this episode, then please, you're free to give it a like or a thumbs up. And also, if you have any comments or you want to leave anything, any recommendations or what else you want to talk to us about, then feel free to do that below. And as well as that, if you want to join the family, then you're always welcome to. And you can subscribe to the channel so you'll always be up to date on all new material coming out as well.
Thanks for joining us as well. It's really great to have you here as well.
Always is. So this is MumNSon, and we are done. And until the next one, take care. See you then.